Matthew, the 6th chapter. We're just going to take a look at that real quick. Matthew, the 6th chapter. And we're going to go to, just start right at verse 1. And look at what he says. He says, take heed. Oh, wait a minute. Let's go back. What did it say? And it said, that your prayers be not hindered. Okay, just remember that word. Okay. Take heed that you do not your what? Alms before men. Now, alms is your goodness, your giving. To be seen of them. In other words, he's telling, what Jesus is doing, he's telling them, this is how you should not do a certain thing. Don't do your good works before men to be seen. All right, and then he says, otherwise ye have no what? Reward. No reward of your Father which is in heaven. That means when you do things to impress other people, when you're trying to do things to help people, and then you're trying to, it's like when you want to help somebody, then you want to go around and tell everybody, look what I did to help. No, you can help, but then just help. And it may get noticed, but then it may not get noticed. And if it doesn't get noticed, it's no big deal. Right? So we have to keep that in mind. All right? And then he says, because you have no reward of your Father which art in heaven. Therefore, when you do thine alms, or your giving or doing of good, do not stand and do not sound a trumpet before thee, as the what? Hypocrites do. In the where? In the synagogue. So who is he talking about? He's talking about the scribes, the scribes and Pharisees of his day, the religious leaders of that day. What did he call those religious leaders of his day? Hypocrites. Right? And now we're dealing with Peter. You think Peter and understands that there's some hypocrite? So he recognizes a similar spirit here, and we're going to see this spirit in just a bit. And in they stand in the synagogues and in the streets, that they may have glory of who? Of men. Verily I say unto you, they have their rewards. But he said, but when thou doest alms, let not thy left hand know what thy right hand is doing. In other words, you don't have to try to publicize or let people know what's going on. You just do what you know is right and move on, and let God handle the understanding of knowledge or how it's being shared. And then he goes on. He says, and thy alms may be in secret, but thy Father which seeth in secret himself shall do what? Reward thee openly. So then God will bring your recognition, and he may bring it in another way, or maybe in a direct way. But you let that happen to God. And then, so with this being a beginning of the statement, he then goes from your good giving and your good actions and your charity work, and he goes right into this aspect of prayer. Look at verse 5. And when thou prayest, thou shalt not be as the what? The hypocrites. For hypocrites are, for they love to pray standing in the where? In the synagogue. So once again, he's talking about what kind of people? Religious people, religious leaders. And in the corners of the street. And why are they doing that? That they may be seen of men. Verily I say unto you, they have their what? Their reward. But thou, when thou prayest, look what he says. Enter into your what? Closet. Your closet. And when thou hast shut the door, pray to thy Father which is in secret, and thy Father which seeth in secret shall reward thee how? Open. Right. And then he goes on. But when ye pray, do not use what? Vain repetitions. All right. As the who do? Now you see, he didn't go to the who. He didn't say the what? The cynic, the people, the religious leader. He said now the hypocrites. Because see, the heathens right now. And so he talked about the synagogue religious leaders, called them hypocrites, because they did have truth. They had the writings of who? Of Moses. The heathens have ignorance, and they have false beliefs and false. And what's sad is that a lot of that gets brought together. You know, the hypocritical aspect of it, and also the ignorance of it. But he said, but when thou prayest, pray not in vain repetition. This is verse 7, as the heathen do, for they think, and this is what's in their mind, that they shall be heard for their much what? Speaking. So now, wait a minute. Look at all these things that are a problem, a hindrance to what? To prayer. Look at all the discussion that's going on here about what stops your prayers, what hinders your prayers. All right, but let's keep going. But be not ye therefore like unto them, for your Father knoweth what things ye have need of when before you ask. So you're not informing God of anything. You're not giving God any new news. He already knows. So what are you doing? You are just looking for him to give you what? Direction. Lord, you know what's going on. Strengthen me. All right. And we could spend a lot of time giving illustrations about that. But I often think about Joseph. God knew what was going on with Joseph. God knew his brothers didn't like him, or his brothers really what? Hated him. And then God also knew that his brothers were going to do what? Sell him. And God knew that when he got to Potiphar, he knew God was not surprised that Potiphar's wife was trying to what? Trying to get busy with him. But God also knew that what? That she was how she was. And then God knew that Joseph was going to be what? Lied on. And God also knew that Joseph was going to be punished for that lie and sent to where? To prison. But God also knew that he was going to bring him out of the prison and make him second in command over the whole what? Of the whole nation. But Joseph had to trust God through all of those situations. It seemed like, God, where are you? You seem like, well, I don't understand. I'm not doing anything to deserve this. Why is all this happening to me? But then what happened to Joseph? He was raised up. Now, that's a very important aspect about life and about dealing with the things of God, because we're going to see this in a bit when we get to that part about suffering. You have to be willing to believe that God is always with you. And if you're trusting in the Lord and you happen to be going through something that is difficult to go through, that God knows what he's doing. And I can't put it no plainer than that. I mean, I can't give you any well, you need to just think about this word and think about this chapter, read this book or read this, You just have to know that God is with you. And it's a whole lot easier said than done. But if we can begin to recognize that, it will help. It will help. All right. So he says, be not therefore like unto them, for your heavenly Father knoweth the things ye have need of before ye ask him. And then he goes in and he says, now this is how you should pray. And this is less than 70 words. Now he gave all this illustration about how not to pray, but now he's going to say, after this manner shall you pray. And we want to look at this and kind of break this down here. He says, after this manner therefore pray ye, our what? Father. Now, that's an important thing. He didn't say our God. He didn't say our supreme being. What did he say? Our Father. Now, the important aspect of our Father is that you recognize that God, the great God, the God that created the heavens and the earth, the God that created all life, the God that said, let there be light, and there was light. That God is a father. If he's a father, that means he has what? A son. That's right. He has offspring. He has someone whom he has what? Begotten. And that's an important piece that he didn't just say, when you pray, go to excuse me, go to God and say, our God which art in heaven. And you say, well, why? Why did he use that specific description of himself? We picked that up in John. And if you go to John, and keep your finger here because we're going to come back. But if you go to John, 1 John chapter 2. And about the 18th verse. 1 John. 1 John, and this is when we get into this book of John, this is going to be one enjoyable walk. But you go to 1 John chapter 2, verse 18. And we're going to go from 18 to 22, and you'll see this. It says, 1 John chapter 2, verse 18. It says, little children, it is the last times. And as ye have heard that who Antichrist shall come, even now are there many Antichrists, whereby we know that it is the last times. So he's saying that because there are many Antichrists, we already know that we're in the last times. All right, verse 18. I'm sorry, verse 19. That yet out from us, but they were not of us. All right? Because they went out from us, we know that they were not part of us. For if they had been of us, they would no doubt have continued with us. So he talks about those people that were part of what we were dealing with. They were religious people. They went through the religious circles. They went to the churches, or in his day, they talk about going through the synagogue. They were parts of it. All right, but because they left, that means they were not part of us. All right. They wouldn't, no doubt, have continued with us if they were part of it. But they went out that they might be manifest that they were not all of us. Right now, that's an important thing. It's like he's repeating himself about that, but what he's saying is there are people that have religious affiliations that are not part of Jesus Christ. Because the Antichrist is not anti-religion. The Antichrist is very religious, but he does not know Jesus. All right? Verse 20. And here's an important part. All right? But ye have in uncertain form the Holy One, and ye know all things. Verse 21. I have not written unto you because ye know not the truth, but because ye know it, and that no lie is of the truth. How many lies is of the truth? No lie is of the truth. All right, look at 22. Who is a liar, but he that denieth that Jesus is the Christ? He is Antichrist that denieth the what? The Father and the Son. You see that? John didn't say he is Antichrist that denies that there is no God. What does the Bible say about people that say there is no God? They're what? They're a fool. A fool. So the people that say there is no God, they're not really that much of a threat. They're not Antichrist type of people. They're just what? Fools. But a person that will say that God is not a father and he has no son is the spirit of Antichrist.